Good evening, I'm Ginger Casey. October 17th, does that date ring a bell? Well, if you live in the Bay Area, chances are it's going to be etched into your memory forever. The day we were all reminded of just how shaky the ground is we live on. This weekend, in every major publication in the Bay Area, you're going to get a copy of this booklet, The Next Big Earthquake. And its title question says it all. Are you prepared? Well, joining us tonight to talk about how the booklet came about is Peter Ward with the U.S. Geological Service. Thanks for coming by. Well, the state government is certainly forcing us to be prepared, passing the mandatory quake insurance. Do you think that's going to make a difference?
Well, insurance certainly is a good first step, but there's so many actions that we can take that'll significantly reduce the amount of damage we have in earthquakes. That's what's really important. I think we all need to step forward and take those actions.
It's been about a year now. I know that there was a big run on batteries and bottled water right after the earthquake, but it kind of fades, doesn't it? The water gets dusty, people don't check the batteries. Why is that? Is it a kind of denial? Is it our way of saying it's not going to happen again?
Well, there are a lot of things to worry about in life. I mean, earthquakes are just one of the hazards we face, and it's important that we understand how serious the hazard is and that we prepare for it, but it can't totally control our lives.
What does this booklet cover? What does it get into?
It really has two important messages. First of all, we think that earthquakes are going to be more of a problem for us in the next few decades than they have been in the last decades.
Isn't there a chance of another major quake within the next 30 years?
Well, we say there's a 67% chance that at least one magnitude 7 earthquake will occur within the next 30 years, and that earthquake may occur at any moment. And what's particularly concerns us about that earthquake is it's more likely to be closer to the Bay Area, much more close to centers of population. So the damage could be considerably more. Where
would be the highest danger zones?
Well, there are 4 areas that we're looking at. One is the San Francisco Peninsula, the San Andreas Fault segment on the San Francisco Peninsula.
Which I live, like, practically right on top of.
Goes practically through your house.
Right.
And then there's the Hayward Fault, both the southern and northern Hayward Fault that go through the East Bay, and the Rogers Creek Fault that goes from essentially the Richmond or San Pablo Bay area up to Santa Rosa.
So essentially where all the major concentrations of population are.
An earthquake on any one of these 4 segments would cause a serious problem in the Bay Area, probably a great deal more damage than we had in Loma Prieta.
Does it end up being that no one is immune in a situation like this?
Everybody needs to be concerned, but I think the important thing is that's the first message in the magazine. The second message is that we as a community can take action now that will drastically reduce the amount of damage that will occur in the future earthquakes. So it's really a very positive message if we step up and make some changes.
Like what?
Well, some of the things we suggest, first of all, are things you can do right now in terms of getting prepared. And many people are familiar with this. But, for example, strapping hot water heaters to the wall, fastening houses to the foundation, putting away emergency supplies, having plans with our family and our business as to what's going to happen with an earthquake. But then there are many other things that relate to the dangers of specific buildings and specific places in the Bay Area. We know that there are certain kinds of buildings that do not perform well in an earthquake, and these buildings are going to kill people in the next major earthquake. We know there are certain areas that are much more risky than others. And in this booklet, we show where those areas are. We describe the kinds of buildings that people should be concerned about. And then we tell them how they could go about and get somebody to inspect that building, to tell them if it is really unsafe and what they can do to fix the building.
You think people tend to get kind of fatalistic about it and say, well, whatever. It hasn't happened, it's not going to happen.
I think before Loma Prieta, many people in the Bay Area may have felt that way, but I find talking to people now, there's a real serious concern. But it's a reasonable concern. I mean, you have to remember the chances of one of us being killed on a highway is much, much greater than the chance of one of us being
So you have to strike a balance between scaring people into taking these steps and not scaring them too much.
Well, we want people to recognize there's a serious problem, but we want them to take constructive action.
We're almost out of time. What would you say is the biggest misconception about earthquakes?
I think the biggest misconception is there's nothing we can do about them.
And there are
And the
things
fact is there's a lot we can do about earthquakes.
Okay.
We can't control the earthquakes, but we can control the outcome.
Every major publication, and can they get one free if they call in?
Yes, they will be coming on all the major newspapers being distributed as a public service, but also they can write to the U.S. Geological Survey, write to Earthquakes, U.S. Geological Survey, Menlo Park, California, 94025.
And several languages, including Braille?
In Spanish, Chinese, English, and Braille.
Okay, well, good luck. Keep us posted.
Thanks
for joining us. And we'll see you again tomorrow night for another edition of Bay Area Newsmaker. Good night.